In this lesson, we will explore the use of containers, particularly group boxes and panels. These are two more GUI controls that contain other objects. If you're used to working with the common controls, you're going to find these objects in the containers section of our toolbox. If you're used to working with all Windows controls, you of course will find group boxes and panels listed alphabetically within all the controls. I've set up a new project, and in the form I gave the title of Group Boxes and Panels. And to create a group box, all we do is select the control in our toolbox and drag a rectangle. You can also, of course, grab the group box and just bring it to the screen and then resize it. By default, these come in with names of Group Box 1, Group Box 2. I generally don't name the group boxes because rarely do I refer to these in code, but you could. And of course, as we've seen elsewhere, the text and the name tend to be the same. In this case, the text has a capital G and the name has a lowercase g. If you wanted to rename this, you could do GRP for your Hungarian notation, and I'm just going to call this GRP demo. So one of the things that a group box has is a text property which displays a title in the upper left. So we can change that text, and maybe I want the text to say South Mountain. And so there is my group panel with the title of South Mountain. By default, our group box has a nice little border around it, but there is a back color property, and we can change the back color. I'm going to give it a little orange back color. And you'll notice that the border, the line of our group box extends here into the center a little bit of the top area. So it accounts for our title. You can also apply a background image, even tile those images, as we've seen earlier we can do even with picture boxes and labels. Can change the font property. Of course, we have a location property. And we can set the visible to true or false, which we might do with a group panel to hide a series of controls, maybe until something happened. So here's what a group panel is for. It is really intended to put other objects into it. So maybe I want to have a label here, and that label, we'll give it some text of maybe student ID. And I'd put a text box to the right of that. We'll name it TXT student ID. And I'm going to copy both of those controls, the label and the text box, using Control-C to copy. I'm going to click in the group box to select it and paste, and it pastes into the center of that group box. I'll move it to where I want it. I'm going to select the label and change the text to say first name. And we will name the text box TXT first. I'm going to paste again. We'll set the text of this label to be last name. And the text box will be TXT last. Now I might put some more controls in here. Maybe we want to have what their major is, what their class standing is, their address, phone number, things like that. I'm going to keep this fairly simple just for these demonstration purposes. Now here's a couple cool things about the group box. Is I can grab the group box and I can move it and all the controls move with it. The group box allows us to group controls. Obviously that's probably why they named it group box. To code this, I'll do a button down below. I'm going to rename the button btn submit. and our text will be submit. As I code this button, the controls inside the group panel are accessed as they normally would. So if I wanted to put something inside that TXT student ID, I can select that. I'm just going to put text, and we'll put in an ID number here. And same with the TXT last name. And the first name. And so if I run this, click submit, I get that data added to those 3 text fields. But another thing I can do with this, and we're not going to see the data appear here, but I can take that group box, and that's why I named it in this case. I had GRP demo, is I can take that group box and I can hide the visibility of it. So if we say GRP demo.visible equals false, we're going to see that group box go away. And of course I could bring it back with the true statement. So group boxes are a great way of being able to group controls together and make them available for a specific period of time, to be able to hide them, bring them back, to show other controls maybe underneath that group box that you don't want to make visible until the user has finished the activity you want them to do in that group box. They can also be used for visual effects, for aesthetics, to make things look nice. Now a panel is really no different. So I'm going to create a panel over here on the right hand side. And it really is just like a group box, except it doesn't have the title. And again, we can give that a background color. And I'm going to select my 3 labels and 3 text boxes, and I'm actually going to move them over to here. So now those are inside this group box. If I move this one, those don't move, but if I move the panel, they're now part of that panel. If I run this, we'll see the submit button adds our data to the 3 text fields and hides the orange group panel. I could hide the blue panel the same way we hid the group box. I would just simply need to reference it. In this case, I haven't given it a name. Say panel 1. We'll see that we can hide this as well. So if you want to have a title on your grouped controls, use a group box. If you don't want a title, I would use a panel, though you can choose not to have a title in group box. Aesthetically, they both serve the same purpose.